Hey guys, this is Chris from Empire Bricks and welcome to a brand new LEGO Star Wars MOC. Today I want to show you my encounter with director Krennic on Lamu MOC. And in a sense this is actually a remake. Quite some time ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I made a encounter with director Krennic MOC before. It was very simple, so I made a remake. This design is actually from 2019, so we're already 2 years later, but it took quite a while for me to collect the pieces. Either way, without further ado, let's dive in. This MOC turned out much bigger than I first anticipated, so as you can see there's quite some space between. It's not an actual square, it's more of a rectangle, but still it kind of approaches the size of a large gray base plate, so rather large and much larger than my Luke's home on Tatooine MOC, which actually has kind of a similar base structure. So the scene we're looking at is the encounter between Galen Erso and director Krennic on the planet of Lamu, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, where director Krennic with a small squad of Death Troopers wants to convince Galen to resume his work on the Death Star. Now, I made some major improvements when you compare this to my earlier version of this MOC, and that was basically only terrain, and in this case I added more terrain obviously, but also the Galen homestead, which I'll get to later, and some detailing like this evaporator for the moisture farm, which is based on the one that I did for my Luke's home MOC, but turned it white. Some cargo crates and some more grass. What I particularly like is like the transition between the grass and the darkened earth piece, and the footsteps by Galen and his Death Troopers. So first of all, let's have a look at the Death Troopers and director Krennic. These are all existing figures, of course. As you can see, this is still something that I'm very happy with. This particular figure is quite unique. There are tons of Imperial officers available online from LEGO, kind of different variants, but there's only one director Krennic. I'm really happy to have him in my collection. Looking further to the Death Troopers, there are small variants between them, but they kind of look alike. Just really, really cool figures all around. I love the helmet in the movie, and I love the helmet that LEGO made for them. I'm really happy that these are before the era where they increased the size of the Stormtrooper helmets, which looks good, but on itself, but once they're on a figure, they look a little bit oversized, and I'm really happy that that didn't happen with these Death Troopers. So, put him back. There's actually one squad commander, if you will. He has a black pauldron. The black color actually makes it a little bit difficult to look at all the details, but there's some nice printing on there. Although the helmet really does the trick in this case. And I positioned them so that two of them are looking towards Galen and two of them are kind of scanning the surrounding area. Now let's go to my Galen Erso figure, because as you might know, there is no Galen Erso figure, which is kind of a shame and really strange, because he is one of the leading characters of the Rogue One movie. We have minifigures for some of the more obscure characters from that movie and no Galen Erso minifigure. So I had to figure something out. Last time I used a Luke torso, black torso. I kind of changed it up this time. This is still a torso from Luke Skywalker. It's a very old one from one of the first Endor sets that came out, I think in 1999 or 2000. But it kind of fits perfectly. If you look up the stills from the movie, you can see him wearing something that looks very similar to this, kind of a dirty robe, somewhere in between dark brown and dark gray. This is still the older dark gray, so it kind of fits perfectly because it's a little bit more brown. He, in the movie, is wearing dark brown pants, so I gave him those. And this head is from a Luke figure as well, a Luke Skywalker figure, but when he is older. So hence the beard, and this is just a kind of regular hairpiece that you can, I think, find on Han Solo figures as well. So I think it looks quite okay. Of course, there's always something better, but I only have so many minifigures I can take the parts of. So I'm really happy to have this figure on this MOC here. So moving on to the rest of the MOC, like I said, it looks really flat, and it uses kind of the same base structure that I used for my Luke's home on Tatooine MOC. It's raised by one brick, and that is for a reason, because my Luke's home on Tatooine MOC actually has a similar idea that there is an interior to the structure. The Urso homestead has these domed structures as buildings, making it really hard to fit an interior inside. This one has no interior, it's just for the suggestion that there is more going on underground. But this dome actually has a, well, full interior might be an exaggeration, but you can lift this piece off. And I was examining photos from the set, and yeah, it kind of appears that I did a good job on creating the interior. I'll just lift this up a little bit. So on this side, you can see that there is a table in the middle with a fire and a small glass. You can find this exact thing on in the movie if you look closely. A chair, which I kind of designed to be movie accurate as well, and a corner where you can, I guess, get some drinks. There's a touchscreen and another keyboard over there. This is also something that you can see in the movie. Putting it down, turning it around again. We have two beds that I created. So one over here, one over there. You can see the tubing, just some small detailing. It's a very small detail as well, but you can see I use these modified bricks with the ribs on them, the ridges, and you can see them in the back there. So they're going all around. If you look at some movie screens, you can actually see that the walls inside the Urso homestead have the same similar structure. So with the little space I had with the one brick height from the base, I used it to go a little bit deeper, added these round wedge pieces, I think they are, and with the dome on top, it just allows for a little bit of depth, but enough to pose figures, enough space to have the to have more figures in there. So if I would have a Jyn Erso figure as a child, something else that they never made from Lego, so I would have to piece that together. But you could fit it in there. Lyra could be here. So you could just play around. There's real room for them to be on the beds because I left one stud outwards on both sides, so you can actually pose them on there as well. I'll just demonstrate that for a second. It's kind of a tight fit, but you can actually fit the figures in there if you want to. So there is space to play around a little. I'm very proud that I was able to fit that all inside. Oh, I just threw over the evaporator. So putting this back on here, having a quick look at the moisture farm in the back. I added one evaporator. There are more in the video or in the movie, I think, but just to demonstrate that this is a moisture farm of some sorts. Added some electrical wiring, or at least something that is supposed to be that, from the main building to the evaporator. And that is possible because this entire thing is lifted one plate as well. So it's not actually touching the black, it's hovering a little bit above. I needed that to create the correct depth inside, but it also allows me to place these modified tiles underneath so it really looks like they're going inside. One last thing are these cargo crates. They are quite simple in design actually. They use these modified bricks on the bottom here and on the top there, so you can add these turntable base plates on all sides, creating these neatly looking cargo crates. Also something that you can quite clearly see in the movie, so I'm happy to have added those as well. Now, like I said, this design is actually from 2019 in January, so it's 2 years old. It took me 2 years to get the bricks together. When I designed it, the pieces were a little bit easier to get. Lego has gotten quite popular during the COVID crisis, so some pieces might be a little bit harder to get. But I also made instructions, so if you want to build this, you can go to Rubricable and look it up. You can get the instructions there. I'll put a link underneath this video. I think it would cost around $100 to build this, mostly because the plates are just rather expensive and you need a lot of them. This entire MOC is actually only 528 pieces, so not too many pieces, but that is mainly caused by, I'll just show you guys underneath, a lot of the plates. And if I could leave them out, I would, but it actually needed to be able to pick it up without it breaking apart. So it adds a lot of strength to the structure, but especially underneath, you could use other colors that might be cheaper. So that's it for this MOC. Thank you all for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.